viewers just tuning in, a 7.0 magnitude earthquake has hit Haiti a couple hours or so ago.
Half of Fijians lack access to safe water. They have at times relied on emergency water supplies with rations as low as 4 gallons a week per family.
It's one of the world's oldest diseases, but in modern-day India, every week doctors continue to diagnose new cases of leprosy.
And for generations, India's poorest of the poor, the Dalits, have been taught they are worthless and less than human. The result, many Dalit women and children fall victim to prostitution.
Our health news tonight is a surprising look at the millions of Americans who are stressed out and suffering from it across this
So-called
country.
millennials, those ages 18 to 33, are the most stressed.
Results showed the more a person was on the social media site, the more unhappy he or she became.
What's going on right now? Last flight of the trip. We're going home. This is it, man. The last flight. When we get off of this, where will we be? Denver.
December 19th. At some point, our selfish pursuits of the world start to worry us. Before this past year, I remember lying awake, wondering how a 20-year-old guy could feel completely empty and alone at the height of so-called life. I had run after things my culture told me to fill up on: parties, booze, sex, money. But the thought kept pounding in my head: there has got to be more. Anytime I looked beyond myself, I got a taste of more. Eating with a homeless guy or working in a third world country would explode my sense of reality. I would start to feel a pulse, but then it was right back to normal life. I thank God for those experiences because somehow it led to this past year. I drew Jesus up to be a religious rule book that didn't have room for me. But then I read some of the Bible for myself and heard the offer of full life. It seemed too simple. Go love people in the world and share the full life God offers with all who want it. Out of a desperation to become someone actually living, I decided to look beyond classrooms, fleeting fun, and future cubicles. Instead, I would go. I remember sitting up on a mountain overlooking our college town while I pitched the idea to my buddies.
All of a sudden, Ethan brought up this idea for a trip that he had to get a group of guys and travel around the world to do good things and help people who needed help and talk about Jesus.
Doug had a lot to give up.
This dream of being a doctor and having a white picket fence was kind of the dream that was spoken to me, but hearing about this trip was something completely different.
He also suffered from chronic pain in his head every day. To go, he would have to lay down the American dream and fight through the pain without doctors. It didn't make sense to do it, but Doug wanted more.
This was about a story much bigger than me, and there was something deep inside of me, I think, that was drawn to that.
I knew Doug's brother Ryan would go. He had to. Before we went, Ryan had already spent summers serving the poor. Ryan and I were pretty much opposites. He was a religious rule follower who wanted to fix the world's problems and be known as the one who did. Ryan needed more.
I kind of felt like I had maxed God out somehow, and then you guys tell me about this trip and it was something that I was ready for right away.
Our buddy Matt was wandering through life looking for something like this trip. When we first talked, Matt was about to move out to California to try his hand at something else. One week he was going to be a doctor, the next week he was going to be a writer. The future was a giant question mark for Matt, and really, Matt was a question mark to himself. Matt longed for more.
We talked about this trip and it was completely unexpected, but it was something that as soon as I heard about it, I was like, I gotta do this, I'm willing to do it.
Big ideas need a name, so we called ourselves the Acts Commission.
The book of Acts is our favorite book because you've got ordinary men just like us who were just doing their best to follow Jesus.
It seemed like the guys who had really taken Jesus seriously experienced life far beyond what we were doing. We were going to lay it all down to find the more we hoped was out there.
I remember somebody telling me, hey Doug, this is a really cool idea, but I've heard so many things like this before. What makes this different than that? And the only answer I had for him was, it just is.
My grandpa called me and he was saying, Ethan, I love what you guys want to do with this trip, but if the money doesn't come in, what's plan B? And I just laughed and I said, Gramps, we don't have a plan B.
People were surprised at how serious we were about this trip, and you really can't blame them because we're not exactly the 4 people that you'd expect to do a trip like this.
Over the course of a few months, we had visas, a website, and donations coming in from all over the country. Our idea was becoming a reality.
I think we dreamed of the day that we'd finally have plane tickets from the night that we were on Flagstaff. Our names were on tickets. We're going around the world. I'll never forget that. We're going to Haiti. We're going to Belize.
Fiji,
India,
Uganda, Burundi,
Zambia,
and we're gonna finish it off in South Africa before we head home.
With plane tickets bought, we were all ready to leave, but it wasn't that simple.
I had moved out to California to finish my degree, and I get this call saying, hey, you know what, we've decided to push the trip up 6 months. We're gonna be leaving in January instead of May. Can you go? And pretty much right there on the phone, I said, no, I can't go by then.
I was gonna have to graduate a semester early to leave by our target date. For me, I was just piling class after class onto my schedule. That's what I had to do. Like, that's where I found my worth, and just felt like this trip was another thing that I needed to do.
One of my biggest discouragements was definitely hearing things about Ethan. My friends were like, you know, he's not exactly the best person to go on this trip, so you should probably stay clear of him.
I was so passionate about the trip, but at the same time, hearing those things was a constant battle of feeling like, you can't do this. You could never go share Jesus with people because you're messed up. Even as it became reality, I still didn't feel like I could go. I still felt like at the end they were gonna say, you didn't really think you were gonna go on this. After everything you've done, you think that we'll send you to other people in other countries?
We were planning this trip, and while all that's going on, I kind of started dating a girl.
I was with him when he called her to ask her on the first date, and he was all excited and nervous and everything, and I was just shaking my head like, this guy's gonna be a goner. He's gonna drop out of the trip. We'll never see him again.
The first real thing I ever knew about him was that he and his brother and his friends wanted to go on a trip around the world. I think that's honestly one of the reasons I actually first really started liking him, is because he seemed so passionate about what he wanted to go do.
And I just did not see how all of these things in my life and this trip would fit together at all. As the trip got closer, it turned into a bit of a harsh reality for me. I had all of these things that I sort of thought were gonna be figured out, and I've got nothing figured out, and before I know it, I'm gonna be getting on a plane and actually leaving for a year.
While Doug was anticipating leaving Samantha for a year, Ryan had finally graduated. Matt was struggling to accept that he wasn't going to be with us for the first 5 months. He would be running things on the home front until he could meet us in India. Personally, I couldn't wait to escape my past, but I still feared I wasn't qualified.
What's going on, Lee? It's actually happening right now. We are here at LAX after 2 years of preparation for this trip, and not one of us has backed out.
The boys are starting their trip tonight, so we're all here to see them off and wish them well and to pray for a good trip and lots of blessings to the people they meet and to them. It's gonna be awesome. The AC Project.
Very excited, but also I'm gonna miss my son.
We've certainly had a lot of fun watching them prepare for this. Very proud of what they're doing, and we know God will bless this trip.
Thrilled, proud, happy, excited for the boys.
I remember my mom just looking at us and saying, stop worrying about me. I see that you're worrying about me, I'll be fine.
And actually seeing tears coming from Dad's eyes.
Yeah.
It's hard to see. Yeah. Pretty emotional night. Kind of realize how much you love him.
My parents were excited, maybe because I was going to do something positive with my life. Of course, as a mom, she knew it was going to be a hard year, but she was willing to let me go. When I was a kid growing up, my dad always told me, "You're a good boy," before I go to bed, because he wanted me to know that. And he came up to me right before we walked away, and he gave me a hug, and he said, "You're a good man."
I had to finally say goodbye to Sam. I don't think anything could have prepared either of us for the heaviness of that reality.
Thinking like, this is it, I'm not gonna see him for a year.
I looked into her eyes and they were just completely full of tears, and it wasn't long after that that mine were too. And I gave her a kiss and turned around and walked away down the hallway at LAX.
That was by far the hardest thing that I have ever had to do, was just let him go, like let him walk away. And just know, like, okay, a year from now, I'll be seeing him, and who knows what's gonna happen from now until then.
I guess in the preparation process, I always kind of thought of that as like, oh, it'll be sweet, you know, like distance makes the heart grow fonder, you guys will grow closer, it'll be like an epic love story. And maybe it would be, but that morning it was like, okay, well now is the year part. That starts now.
It was a strange time saying goodbye to all of our friends and family, but I just had to keep the mentality that there's all these problems out there that we need to go solve, so I don't have time to get emotional about this. We gotta go.
We left and we hugged and said goodbye, and they said, "Matt, we'll see you soon." And in my mind, I'm just thinking, no, you won't. You're gonna go do this thing I wanna do, and I'm gonna go sit at home or sit in the classroom.
It was surreal at that airport. We had anticipated a lot and been so excited, and we'd put the work in, and we had the idea of what the year would be, but we truly had no idea what we were in for.
We get off the plane and I'm looking at Doug and Ethan, and we just got these wide eyes. Like, what did we get ourselves into?
We walked through a hallway at the Port-au-Prince airport through utter chaos, and then saw our Haiti host, Rodney.
We had guys trying to grab our bags, and we didn't know if we were gonna get in, and it was immediately overwhelming.
We hopped in the back of Rodney's truck and drive through the streets of Haiti, and we're just covered in dirt already. You smell burnt trash in the air. There's kids trying to jump in the back of the truck, holding out their hands, begging you for money, and we're just completely hit with poverty right away.
And suddenly this glamorous AC project had become a brutal reality. We were all forcing smiles and acting like we were so pumped up to be gone, but in reality, we were missing home, missing food, missing our lives that we had just left.
I tried not even to consider the amount of time it would be until I got to see Sam again.
Then there was like a 2-week span that went by and nobody had heard from any of the guys, and you know, it's easy to let that like run away with you, your imagination, just totally think the worst things possible.
We made the mountains higher than our hearts, higher than our eyes.
Haiti is the poorest country in the Western Hemisphere, and all I knew about it before we went there was voodoo and witchcraft, and it was really dangerous, and there was this massively destructive earthquake.
Everybody in Haiti was connected to the earthquake.
We're at a site here outside of the city of Port-au-Prince. There's approximately 23,000 people buried. It's one of the mass grave sites around Port-au-Prince. What was that experience like?
Oui, m'était vraiment peur parce que les ça t'est fait là, c'est dans la rue m'était mon a mouru.
Okay, she said that was a free time for me, like free. She was really scared. Yeah, that was a scary time for her, because she saw like people like dying and they ground.
After the earthquake, I have one brother died in the earthquake. Me too. I almost died too. The house shake. I'm fall down. The blocks put on me. No. After that, I'm going to hospital.
So the building collapsed on you?
Yeah.
And you were with your brother?
Yeah. My brother is dying.
I thought I could wash away my sin, make you love me more.
January 12th. Today was the 2-year anniversary of the earthquake. We spent it at a prison. It was the last place on earth I would ever want to live. There are 40 guys in one cell that's the size of my bedroom at home. It smells terrible. It's 100 degrees. I got to talk about the hope of Jesus.
So that we might have life with him.
Prisoners were handing me notes, asking for prayer, and I served communion. But honestly, the whole time I felt like a fraud. I've let my selfishness make me a prisoner in my life. I've been in a tiny cell of guilt and shame for a long time, but it just doesn't add up in my mind that I'm somebody to go impact other people. I'm not sure how I'll do this for a year, or why I'm here.
Wash away my sin, make you love me more.
Leading into the trip, we always think, oh, as soon as we'll get to Haiti, then we won't struggle with these things. So for Ethan, it's like, as soon as we get to Haiti, we'll be away from all the distractions, you'll be good to go. And I think we could see it in you that you're like, well, these things still exist. Like I didn't just get to hit the reset button, and so you're kind of bringing all this baggage into the trip with you.
You could even see it in your eyes too when you were at the prison preaching or walking around these streets. And in a lot of ways, I think you saw a country that was a slave to their past as well.
That prison described really well my feeling on going on the trip, where it was like, me, like I want to do something positive, I want to be a part of this, but always that weight of, yeah, but you shouldn't speak. One of the other guys should do it. Who are you to tell these guys about freedom? You're not living it.
Oh, I could be the moon, I could be the moon.
I was still thinking about all the people back home. And I remember one night I went out to the street and bought some cell phone minutes from some random guy and called Samantha for the first time and had a chance to actually hear her voice.
It was so great to get to talk to him and hear his voice and know that he was safe.
I know it's not really the missionary thing to say, but those 15 minutes were the best 15 minutes so far on the trip for me. But it was also the fastest 15 minutes, and as soon as it started, it was over. And it was like we had to say goodbye all over again.
I think I had this pit in my stomach. I just felt really scared. Like, how are we gonna do this?
This used to be a slave country to the French, and in 1804, the slaves wanted their freedom. So they made a pact with the devil and said, we'll serve you for 200 years if you give us our freedom from the French. They did a sacrifice with a pig, and they had this big ceremony and told the devil, if we get our freedom from the French, we'll serve you. Well, a couple years later, after lots of wars and battles and killing a bunch of people, they got their freedom and started their nation.
A literal deal with the devil and voodoo and witchcraft and pig's blood and all of this stuff. It sounded like it was straight out of a scary movie. But in Haiti, it's their history. They talk about it the way we talk about George Washington and Abraham Lincoln.
200 years after the curse had started, there was a standstill between the Christians and witch doctors, with the Christians trying to take back their nation for God.
So 2004, what happens? Well, the curse is up, and the tree where they did the ceremony was still alive 200 years later. Well, there were several churches and missionaries that were praying over this site, and the tree died. It kind of rotted away, and that year it just disappeared. It just kind of fell apart. But then it's a nation that's undeclared. They're not declared for Christ, they're not declared for the devil. So what happens? They have a choice to make.
Our problem in Haiti is not a problem for money, for food. Our problem is we just accept to serve voodoo.
The earthquake happened, devastation everywhere. People died, lots of people died, 300,000 plus.
January 16th. There's a difference between knowing something and experiencing it. I remember seeing Port-au-Prince on CNN and feeling sad for those people. But being on the streets, looking at the aftermath, hearing the stories, I could smell, see, and feel a glimpse of what devastation was like. Walking through the tent city across the street from the palace, I was speechless. People have been living in tents for 2 years. Kids are begging, babies are born, people die. Every awful thing is there. Drugs, prostitution, poverty, starving people, and what can I do?
We are just like 2,800 people living in this camp in Missouri, but a lot of Missouri, you know. But we even a little girl, 9, 10 years old in this camp, they have to sell their bodies to eat. Some of them lost their family, they have no help, you know, no support, you know. Every day we got a newborn baby. Yeah, but their life is really difficult. Yeah, their life, that's, you know, her mother, she is 16 years old. Yeah, she is 16 years old. 16 years old, she is 16 years old, you know, and no help, you know. Sometimes, you know, they have to make some money. Yeah, they have to make some money with somebody else, you know, because no life, their life is really difficult. No life, you know.
Driving away from the tent city was starting to get to me because I was seeing all this poverty and knowing, man, I still have 11 months to go. How am I going to be able to deal with this?
January 28th. I will never forget the streets of St. Mark, the walk through the tent city, the kids of Timonet, or the faithful servants making a dent in 200 years of damage. The crushed palace, witch doctors we met, and kids fighting for a drink of water will forever be burned into my mind. In the midst of the pain and destruction, I believe God is changing this place. Devastation can be overwhelming, but God redeems us when we give it all to Him. Haiti is choosing to no longer be defined by its past, and it's time I do the same.
After Haiti, we made a quick stop in the Dominican Republic. We went through a motorcycle crash, Ryan high-fiving a sea urchin, and Ethan slicing his head open. By the time we got to Belize, we were all, I think, 15 pounds lighter than we were the day we set out.
Are we lost?
Yeah. Well, we don't know where we are. If that's what lost is, then yeah.
At this point, things kind of got real for me, and the adrenaline was no longer there pushing me forward.
There was no finish line in sight, and the starting line is gone too, and I honestly felt very unsure of what was gonna happen.
About a week into Belize was when my head kind of started to take a turn for the worst. It really kind of got to a point where I had a headache all the time. It was chronic and it was never gone. It was either, you know, kind of okay or really bad.
Me and Ryan could immediately tell if Doug had a headache. We just knew. And when one person's down, it brings everyone down, and it was just hard because it was out of our hands. You know, it's something that we couldn't fix.
I wanted to be able to tell him it's okay, you can just go sit this one out. But I also felt the pain that he was going through, wanting so bad just to be normal, just to be able to work with us.
February 25th. For me, the theme of the trip is quickly becoming surrender. I said goodbye to med school, at least for now, turned down a job offer to follow this calling, which also involves being thousands of miles away from a girl that I really care about. And now the pain in my head is starting to get worse every day. There's never a time when I don't have a headache. I don't want to have to take painkillers just to be present in a room, but that's how it's been lately. And I'm trying to suck it up and be tough, God, I really am. Please heal my head and please take care of Samantha while I cannot. give her comfort when she feels lonely, and peace when she gets scared. I miss her so much.
Our main things we did in Belize was spend time with some kids that live at a place called the King's Children's Home. And the other thing we did was work on construction of the new King's Children's Home.
Is Ethan doing a good job? Is he a quick learner?
Yeah, he is.
Yeah.
Not too bad.
The house that they were living in was in a dangerous place in town, and it was really cramped. So this new house was an opportunity for these kids to be kids and be safe.
The lady who runs the home is a lady named Leonie, and everyone calls her mom because she's the mother to literally hundreds of kids.
26 years ago, actually, when the Lord first put having a home in my heart, we had 14 of us in our family. I took care of my brothers and sisters when they were little. So that gives me the first-hand experience of taking care of kids. But I suffered a lot of abuse. My father molested me and my mother beat me, and my only child is from my father. So that tells you a whole lot.
It seemed like Leonie was in a point where all that she had to count on was God.
With all of that, I feel like God was gearing me up to what he has in store for me later.
Which was this aching in her heart to take care of kids who didn't have moms.
The horrible things that had plagued her as a little girl ultimately led her to create a home for kids who were facing similar things.
In Belize, there is a girl that is being molested by a brother, by an uncle, by a father, by a stepfather. It happens every day. And a lot of these girls don't have any voice. I wanted to be the voice that will say, this is wrong. And God has just put it in my heart that I need to do something to protect kids. So I prayed and I prayed until August of 1985, God brought me the first girl. And I opened my door to that girl. She was sexually molested by her father and was pregnant. So every time I saw or I witnessed any kind of abuse, I always say, Lord, me, but not them. Because I already gone through it. Let it stop at me. The children were going to school and all the other kids were calling them. They don't have fathers, they don't have moms, you live in homes. And I started telling the kids, yes, you have a dad, and your dad is God, and you're a prince, and you're a princess, because God is my father and I'm a child of God. And when the kids come here, they find themselves being at home. They have a mom here. That's what's different from the other homes is they have a mom. It is like dancing with the elephants.
Where do you think you'd be right now without Leonie?
Well, probably on the street.
My mom has passed away and my father and dad went to the jail, so I didn't have anyone to take care of me. Then I met Miss Leonie. I haven't met anyone like her before, and she's a wonderful person, and she not even really know me, and she just took me in and helped me in my schooling.
She always there for us, you know. We need to talk, she's there with us. If we need help, she's there for us.
She means everything, right? She has dedicated her life for me, and I could never repay her back.
Over the years, she's never said no to any kid who needs a home. And throughout the years, every need that she's ever had has been met.
And her dream is fighting for those kids. 450 kids have called her mom, and right now she's got about 70 under her roof.
Mother Teresa, she already was trying to do so much and was doing so much, and there would be somebody else, and they say, Mother Teresa, you don't have the time to take care of this person. She says, bring him, I'll take care of him. I would think Leonie is Lisa's Mother Teresa. She just says, bring him, I'll take care of him.
It's really tough for me to imagine exactly what Leonie went through. I know a tiny bit of how surrender can hurt, but I'm also starting to see how beautiful it can be, because the message of God is not that he comes in and makes everything better and easier for you. The message is that no matter what happens, you've got him, and she could go through what she went through because she had him. I was far away from my girlfriend, and my head really hurt, but I had God. and that was enough to get me through that. So Samantha's birthday was coming up. I thought I probably should do something pretty creative to show her that I love her, and so I made a music video for her.
You know that I'm your knight in shining armor.
The label, whether we're boyfriend and girlfriend or broken up or whatever, it's not gonna make a difference to how I feel. I'll still have feelings for him. I would still be thinking of him and missing him. I will still worry about him. He said that the trip wasn't something that was getting in the way of our relationship, but it was on the way to whatever our future was. The no-brainer was staying together, because why end something good just because there's this big obstacle in the way?
I see sparks fly whenever you smile.
It was like the best birthday gift I could have asked for, to get to see him, and it was really funny.
Though we're far apart,
There's this little boy, Jesse, who lives at the King's Children's Home, and he's so cute. And he's really little, and he's got this high-pitched voice, and at the end he just goes, "Happy birthday, Sam." It was just, Doug knows me very well.
And it worked. I got some major points for that.
There was one afternoon where we were gonna go home from the King's Children's Home, and being the three geniuses we are, we thought we could just do it ourselves and trek through the jungle. Ended up getting lost. We had to swim across a river, a storm was coming, and our best idea was to just get the camera out and let Ryan start explaining what was going on.
Like, to be completely honest, we actually have no idea where we're at right now. We were walking down this path, we were trying to get home before the sun goes down, and we're lost. Man, I think it's just such a good metaphor for what happens when we go out and we take these steps of faith, because it's far from comfortable and it's far from easy sometimes, but it's so good and it's so worth it.
March 12th. You need to get lost every once in a while and wonder if you're gonna make it back. It's okay to feel pain, and it's okay to hurt, because Jesus never promised easy to us. I think he's doing something in my heart, and it's kind of cool that God loves us enough to let us bleed a little bit. God can do some pretty incredible things through people who reach a point of total surrender. Leonie is living proof of that. Her life has changed countless other lives, all because she open-handedly gave every bit of who she was and what she had to God. I don't stand a chance if you don't come through, God. Take what you want. Do with me what you want. I won't fight you.
Here in Fiji, home of the Bula.
Bula! How are you guys?
It sounded weird to everyone that we were going there on this like hardcore mission trip. We always got made fun of for Fiji, like, oh yeah, you guys are really gonna rough it. And so we landed there. We literally had no idea what to expect, but quickly saw there's a little bit of resorts and then a lot of need and a lot of poverty off the beaches. So we moved in with Pastor Paul and his wife Angela, and they became our Fijian parents.
We were working with an organization whose goal is to bring water filters to every family in Fiji by 2020. And so our goal was to travel to remote villages and find families in need of clean water and show them how to use the filters.
Put it on and twist so when they're lying.
Nata wakale nata.
Bowl of nut, good life. Then you drink. After drinking, you clap 3 times.
was all fun, but I was struggling because I didn't have anything tangible that I was accomplishing. I couldn't say at the end of the day, oh, we dug that hole or built that wall. I started to really question why I was there and what I was doing. This was becoming so overwhelming for me and so exhausting because my whole life I've always felt like I needed to prove myself. I'm exhausted, I'm tired, I'm at the end of my rope, but then one night, God intervened. In one of the most confusing moments of my life, Angela comes running into my room, wakes me up and says, start packing your things.
It is a really bizarre feeling to see water start pouring into your house.
I remember just thinking, I want to save every last thing. I'm in game mode, just running around as fast as I can.
We were trying to rush back and forth between the church and the house, but the problem was we were wading through like 3.5 feet of water.
Paul and I were in the kitchen grabbing all the essentials, and as we were running out, Paul turns around all of a sudden and just makes a beeline for the cookies. He holds up the cookies and looks at me and says, Ryan, we're going to need these. And we both just started laughing so hard I couldn't believe it. Sitting in the middle of a natural disaster, this guy's about to lose half of his things and he's just cracking jokes.
Then the water levels started rising above the church. So in the last effort, we moved everything on top of the pews.
Just as the water started to come into the church, the rain slowed down and the water subsided.
And so for the next few days, we were stuck in the church with no electricity, but we made the best of it. We sang some songs, played games, showered in the rain, and ate the cookies that Paul saved.
Ryan's trying to call his mom. She's not answering. Don't worry, he's just in a natural disaster right now.
Mom, I may not make it through this.
This flood had taken a lot of toll on us, but what we have seen, the faithfulness of God.
And so for me sitting there witnessing this, I'm just starting to think, why am I taking this life so seriously? Like, why am I holding on so tight?
The flood kind of brought a huge, almost 180 shift in here for Ryan, because before it, especially in Fiji, things were getting a little bit tense.
He had started to see problems bigger than he was able to fix. I think it just kind of pushed some ideas out of his head, and this whole trip and these issues were not on his shoulders.
April 8th. I feel about 1,000 times lighter these days. For the first time in my life, I'm not trying to change things. I'm not trying to carry the whole weight of the world on my shoulders. I'm learning how to just let go, and it's freeing me up to just hang out and love people exactly where they're at. As I walk around meeting all these people, I see them just as that, people, real human beings with souls who deserve my love and respect. And I gotta admit, at this point, things are just starting to get really fun.
Good to meet you, man.
This is everyday smile, eh?
Everyday smile. So we'd leave one house and another family would be out on their stoop calling us over, so we'd go to them. And so we started to make some really good friends.
Hello, my name is James. I come from Fiji, and this is my friend. What's your name?
Doug.
Dog. My friend name is Dog.
Reveal, what do you think about Fiji?
It's awesome.
Yeah, what do you like about it?
The best place to live.
That's all you got to say, huh?
Nabil is a guy our age who grew up on the other side of the world in a completely different culture, but had the exact same humor as we did.
Are you shooting me?
Yeah.
Why are you shooting me, my friend?
Nabil is on the camera. Where are you from, Nabil?
I'm from a very beautiful place called Nalohu in Nali, in Fiji Island.
Nabil specializes in cooking roti.
I do not. My friend here specializes in eating.
I am a roti chef.
Well, we finally get to come into a place like Sydney and take a break and actually have hot showers and awesome beds to sleep in and even Pizza Hut.
I think our minds had just taken in so much stuff and we'd done so much and seen so much new things that to just have rest for our minds was just so key.
We're gonna take this time, we're gonna process information, and we're gonna get recharged because we got 7 months of really tough stuff coming up.
Because the opera house is over here. The white one. Right there. The bridge over there. Just surrounded by down under on all sides. Amazing.
Think Australians think it's cool when you do that accent?
I don't think they can tell the difference.
I think they probably can.
And then one Sunday we got to go to a church called Hillsong, and we happened to sit next to this guy named Kevin.
Just driving around.
Who's driving?
Kevin!
This is our best friend in Sydney.
There he is. The man, the myth, the legend.
He really just treated us the way that we'd want to be treated. It's as simple as that. He drove us around to some cool local spots, bought us dinner, and then ended up driving us to the airport on our last night.
Doug, what is your first thought when I say Kevin to you?
Jesus.
Okay. Wow. Positive one. That is some pressure on you, man.
Yeah.
That is.
Big shoes to fill there. And we decided to ask him a couple questions.
I'd say take another look at what Christianity really is about. It's not about religion. Christianity is a way of life. It's freedom. It's a freedom in Christ, knowing that you're already forgiven, that you can't do anything more, you can't do anything less to be loved more by God. But through the grace of God, we get grace, and then we live out our lives knowing that we're saved.
I feel like the whole first half of this trip has been leading up to this moment for me. I've spent my whole life running as fast as I can, trying to prove myself to God. That was even the driving motivation for this year. But He's made me slow down and said, Ryan, you're missing the point. I don't want your good behavior, I want you. It's crazy because over the years, I've probably heard that lesson 100 times. But for some reason tonight, sitting on the side of the road in Bondi Beach, I'm learning it for the 101st time. And it's sinking into my heart and becoming a part of who I am.
The next day we flew to Singapore, which is a really awesome city, or state, or country. Still not really sure about that.
Didn't know we were going to come to Singapore, but we just decided to stop by.
Why not?
It's June 1st. It's been 5 months.
Yeah.
5 months since we left.
Did you guys think we'd make it this far?
No.
Today we had breakfast in Australia, having dinner in Singapore, and tomorrow we're having lunch in India. The AC Project.
You're so artistic, man.
That is an understatement.
Never a quiet day in Singapore, guys.
Yeah, you know that for a fact, or?
Yeah. I'm here, man.
Man, just a classic case of a guy who's just doing tricks with a ball.
Just another case. We see it every day.
Oh,
See it every day, man. 5 months in, 7 months left.
Meeting up with Fonz tomorrow.
Gonna see Matt Fonz.
How do you guys feel about meeting up with Fonz?
Cannot wait to see the guy, man.
So finally the day came where I got to leave for India. I packed up, I said goodbye to my friends and my family, and I jumped on a plane knowing that I was gonna meet them there the next day. We had made plans to meet outside the airport, and that was just all of our plans. We're just, oh yeah, when you get to the airport, we'll just meet outside the airport.
Like it's a major international airport or anything.
So I'm standing kind of outside for a little bit, and then I go a little further. I'm like, you know, maybe they're further outside. I know they're landing an hour after me.
Our flight to India got pushed back.
Our flight got overbooked, so they told us you can't have your seats. We gave them to somebody else.
So I'm sitting there in India outside the airport wondering where they are.
So we are in a 5-star hotel, getting ready to go eat some lobster.
Did they get arrested? Did they get killed? Knowing these three, anything could have happened.
At a $70 plate buffet, courtesy of Air India.
This is my first plate. I can go get more.
How much did you pay for that?
I paid nothing.
But the airline's probably paying $100. Oh, just the king crab legs that I have for dinner.
So after sitting at the airport for 6 hours wondering where these guys were, we finally get communication that they're stuck in Singapore. And I ended up staying in a hostel all by myself in the middle of Mumbai. Catching up with the guys, I heard all their stories, and in my mind, I was just thinking, I have to make up for lost time. They've been on this trip for 5 months already.
I'm gonna be the missionary. I'm gonna go fix things, and I'm gonna get it done. It's time for me to start getting to work and being a part of the team and actually deserving to be here.
Once we arrived in Miraj, we started working with Timothy, who works with people known as the untouchables.
So you get in a car and you drive down the street, and the street is just lined with lepers and little kids begging for money.
There was just a weight of darkness that was inescapable and just suffocating.
Suddenly all the excitement that I had just fell apart as I'm looking around and seeing all of these people with no hope.
As you drive past people with leprosy and these little kids, you close your eyes and try your best to distract yourself and think about anything else.
I still remember walking into the leprosy hospital, seeing all these men and women labeled as untouchables.
Most people are naturally immune to leprosy, but for people that aren't, it's actually very treatable. You just have to take a pill every day for 6 months.
They get this disease and are just shunned from the city.
And we looked around at all these men and women who were told they were worthless.
Their reaction would just kind of be like, what are these guys doing here? Why would these guys come and talk to us?
My mind was just racing, thinking about how would Jesus have me interact with these people? Whatever that is, let's do that.
We started putting our hands on them and trying to show them that God saw them as beautiful, as worthy, as his children.
You see the red light districts where women are being prostituted and it's not even attempted to be hidden.
The red light district is where men who are desperate for sex and control come to get it.
From each customer, these women get $1. And the $50 goes to the pimp. Because pimp is the one who provide house. Pimp is the one who provide electricity. Women, those who are in the red light area, they don't have a house of their own.
Their debt to the pimp is so high that they're never going to be able to pay it back, so they get stuck and they just have to keep doing it.
In the red light area, 40% of the total sex workers are living with HIV/AIDS. There are altogether 34 children in the red light district living with HIV/AIDS. It's alarming. When they live with HIV/AIDS, pimps take away all their belongings and he throw them on the street. There is no home for them. There is no shelter for them.
Their property, and we spent the majority of our days in the red light districts trying to do the nearly impossible task of convincing these women otherwise.
Timothy toured us around in the red light district. We'd stop at this tiny little shack, and there's a woman there. He would tell her that we're here to spread the love of Jesus, seeing in her eyes how hopeful that sounds, but how could that be real? You know, like, how could I be loved by anything because she's a slave?
I remember laying hands on that lady and just seeing her eyes just sort of well up with tears, because you gotta think every other time a man has touched her in her entire life has been to take advantage of her.
That just put Jesus into a whole new perspective for me, because if we were just there and gave her food, what good is that? But you give her something, a message that is true, and it's hopeful, and it's eternal, and it's past the hell that she lives in right now.
June 5th. India is just brutal. This is going to be a long month. I feel like for a while I've wanted to be the missionary guy who went around changing the world and never messed up. Now I'm not sure I want to be that guy because it feels impossible. Everyone around me is getting labeled as worthless and whores and lepers, and I'm trying to figure out who I am in this. How do I help people break themselves of these horrible labels when I don't even know what my own identity is?
Just the desolate feeling that comes over you as soon as you're there is you almost feel like you've never been closer to hell. This cycle of just disgusting corruption in that place, you can feel it on your skin.
The eyes of the pimp is always on the adolescent girls. But we can see that now we have a place. We have started Home of Hope, where they all can stay there.
A place where kids can be kids. They can run around and dance and have fun, just like every kid deserves.
So first thing that we do is that to educate, to help women to read and write.
Which standard are you in?
6th standard.
6th standard.
Every single day we would ask Timothy when we would get to go back to the Home of Hope so we could spend time with these kids that we love so much.
On our first day visiting the Home of Hope, there was a girl who just caught all of our attention. She was so full of life, so full of joy, and just immediately made us feel welcome in her home. And she was a 10-year-old girl named Hasina. Timothy could tell that Hasina had grabbed our interest that day, so we sat down at dinner and he started to tell us about her life.
Hasina used to live outside of the hut. Even in the rainy season, no food was provided to her. That is how this man has tortured her life. Just because she was living with HIV, just because she will not be able to bring any money to him. And one day, as I was going through the red light area, Hasina came running out. She told me, please don't let me be here, because if I leave here, I will die. My life will be destroyed. So she pleaded me. So therefore, with the help of the local police, with the help of the local advocate, I was able to rescue this girl. And that is how I was able to bring her on my motorbike.
Timothy, a man doing this all for God, grabbed Asina, threw her on the back of his motorcycle, and looked at her in the eyes and said, Asina, I'm giving you a new life, and I'm going to show you that life is through Jesus.
I think I've learned more about my identity from Hasina than anyone else. We had different walks of life, but we both came to the same conclusion. We needed a savior.
Especially during prayer time, I find myself kind of opening my eyes and looking at all these kids, and specifically her, because she knows she doesn't have long left because of the HIV that's claiming her life a little bit more every single day. But she's got like her eyes tightly shut and her hands like this, just with such a clear view of Jesus, it seems like. You see this little sick girl on the outside, but on the inside you just sense like this ferocious soul that knows the heart of God in a way that I want to.
She kind of became the representative of the hope of India, I think, for us.
And today, Hasina, she is the one who provides medicine. She is the one who really plays a role of leadership. Her life will not be for long, but she is the one to be an effective leader, to take care of the children.
I think the only thing that made me feel better when we left India was knowing that Timothy was still there.
Our focus is for children. Children, we can see that they are the leaders in the next days to come. And I am very proud that these children are given an opportunity to study, to equip themselves, so that they will be the future leaders. They will be the salt. They will be the light in the darkest community.
It was really difficult for me to leave. It was just hard to leave India because though there was hope and though these kids were so full of joy like Hasina, it's hard to know that she's going to be alive for a few more years and that the prostitutes are still there. And that month will forever be the hardest month of my life. It was emotionally and spiritually so draining and so hard to think that people can do that to each other. And then we left, and yeah.
What country are we in?
Ghana.
What country are we in? What? Uganda. Well, okay. I remember now.
Life is a journey. Yes. Let's start to go. One way, Jesus Christ, Son of God. Only can a multi make a big tune production.
This is our house, and now we go inside the magical home of UNC Uganda. As you can see, here's Matt Fons. He's working on some guacamole. Is that an avocado, Matt?
That is an avocado.
See a group of kids scattered really fast.
Africa, Uganda is a good country.
The people of Africa, they're strong people, they're friendly people, they're welcoming people, they are full of hospitality, they're always laughing, they're always happy at all times.
No matter what you're going through, I'm ready to fight for you.
We noticed quickly that when you walk through a town with a soccer ball, every little boy is going to follow you.
Stars through the perilous fire.
The two key people to sports outreach were Paul and Matthias, and were pretty much our hosts and guides and our best friends the whole time we were there.
We've got our referee here.
Referee, we are here. We are playing our World Cup here in Iganga, Eastern Uganda. I want to see playing soccer. We have great prizes around here at the World Cup.
We've got the commissioner of the World Cup here.
Yeah, we want to see these little ones explore their talents.
That's right.
But with Jesus, of course.
Of course.
Father God, we thank you so much for this day. We thank you for soccer. Jesus, thank you for giving us this opportunity.
We met Dennis, a guy who's just given his life to playing soccer with kids and using soccer as a way to teach them how to work hard and stay in school and excel.
Before starting up a football team, it just came as a dream. Because in our village, I just saw many kids doing nothing, so I had to start up a team to make them busy. Since they joined this organization, we are giving respect to everyone in the community.
No matter what you're going, you are ready to fight for. God is what is
Your name Motia? My name is Fons.
All along, Matt always felt a little bit like on the outside. Like he always found out things last, and he didn't get to come for the first 5 months. And so I think naturally there was a part of him that wanted to fully become the fourth member that was just as included. And I think that that was a struggle in his mind of what can I do so that I'm AC Project member and had that identity just stamped on him.
You were alone in thinking that, because for the three of us, it was like, all right, we've got our buddy, he's with us now, thank God.
These are the only three guys that I'm gonna consistently see. And I mess up a lot, and because of that, they have to be able to give me grace. And because they forgive me, they welcome me into their group. All right, so show me your best dance move, right now.
I'm sick of trying to be the missionary guy. I can't save, and I can't fix everyone. And the image of my potential self that I keep trying to live up to is not working. It's just making me feel like a failure. So, I'm throwing it all away. God, you win. You can have it. Because you probably have something better planned anyway. Show me the guy you created. Show me who Matt is.
In the same way, in the body of Christ, he's given me jobs that only I do, and that's it. And I think we get caught up sometimes in the fact that we think that it's all up to us, that only we can do everything. But instead he says, no, I have all of you together. I have everyone here so that they can all do these things.
I'm not a missionary. I'm not a drummer. I'm not a dancer. I'm a person that God created with a specific role. And I'm just trying to learn how to be that role.
I emailed with the lady that runs Youth for Christ there, and she would say, like, yeah, you'll be doing sports ministry and school visits, and we have a pregnant teen house here that you'll work at. And that was the one I think we always just didn't really address, because like, well, we probably won't do that.
We sat down for that first devotional that first morning and just kind of drew a blank, like, yeah, I don't know what we do at this point.
There's 25 pregnant Ugandan teenage girls, and then there's us. We were there just to kind of hang out with them and be their friends in this tough situation that they're in.
I think the whole reason that we were there during that time was to show them they were loved.
So every morning we showed up and led the girls in a Bible study and just hung out with them, teaching life skills and getting to pray for all these newborn babies that just seem to keep popping up all over the place. Barbara is a 16-year-old girl who was 5 months pregnant at the time that we were there. And one thing she really wanted to do was learn how to play the guitar. So every single afternoon, we would bust out the guitars and do some lessons.
I love to worship and I love to sing and even to play a guitar and a piano.
And by the end of it, I think she knew G, D, E minor, and C, which basically means she can now play every worship song and country song that's ever been written. And she led the worship in the final Bible study, our last day in Uganda.
I really clicked with a 16-year-old girl named Irene. She was kind of a natural leader and somebody that just cared for the other girls. And she'd gotten pregnant, and like most of the girls there, the boyfriend had bailed and she was on her own. She just kind of radiated the love of God in that home, and she was a lot of fun to hang out with.
How long have you lived in the Marimba house?
In Marimba house?
Yeah.
2 months.
2 months. Mm-hmm. Do you think you'll stay here the rest of your life?
No.
And do you want to go back to school?
Yeah. I want to go back to school. That's enough.
I would be in a conversation with one of them and say, like, do you think I'm loved by God and that I should be? And they'd say, of course. And I'd say, what about you? And a lot of them didn't feel that way because their families had thrown them out. And I'd say, well, you had sex and you're pregnant because of it. I've had sex and I can't get pregnant. So what makes us different? Why don't you deserve that? And it was cool to be able to start using past decisions of mine to help them see God still loves you, despite what you've done. It's not about that. Look forward into His love and how He can use you, and that was cool.
So I was like, God is not fair to me, but now I see God has a purpose. He just has good plans for me. That's what I know.
And it was small conversation after small conversation, and it quickly, I think, went from we've got nothing in common to, hey, we're starting to become good friends. You guys are actually like our little sisters.
August 10th. A few weeks ago, I thought to myself, well, maybe I can help these girls out. But now, they're not these girls anymore. They're Irene, they're Sarah, they're Barbara, they're Florida, Nancy, and a bunch of others whose names I actually know because I call them my friends and have actually let down walls so we can know each other's true self. I'm not showing them the American missionary when I talk to them each day. I'm showing them Matt.
September 2nd. Our time in Uganda has flown by. Between soccer, school visits, and hanging out with our sisters at the Mirembe house, Uganda has been incredible.
I love you so much.
Right now we're headed on a 20-hour bus ride through Rwanda to get to our next stop, Burundi. Thank you, God, for another awesome country and for cool gifts like getting visited by our friends from home and rafting the Nile.
Mr. Producer, Mr. Paddy, give me the right song for the plot, Well, again, I'm multi-sex, so Messiah is the king. Better know him, better know him.
I'm standing in Gitega, Burundi. Behind me, a beautiful sunset, along with our friend Elsie, resident of Burundi. Elsie, tell me, how are you?
I'm fine.
And how are you feeling about hanging out with us today?
It was very fun.
She's-
I was very happy.
Oh, she had fun hanging out with us. She must be lying.
Yeah.
Nothing.
One thing I love about Burundi people, they are very cool, very welcoming, and very friendly. You can talk with everybody.
Amahoro. To the camera. Amahoro. Yes, Amahoro.
Burundi is a nice country. We are so happy.
This is the only time you can ever do that. Hey, Douglas.
Ethan, yes.
Where are you?
I'm in Burundi.
What are you doing with a baseball glove?
We are going to play catch.
No one does that here.
Apparently, you just throw back and forth for an extended period of time. It's supposed to be
like fun.
wild. Gonna check it out.
From our house, you could just walk along this trail for 3 minutes, and there's this big field on the side of the hill where all the little kids would go play after school.
I play baseball.
Baseball time. Well, we better get our gloves. Let's go.
So every evening when we got home, we'd grab the ball gloves and head to the baseball field to have baseball practice.
That was like the best part of every day there, because when you're a kid and you come home from school and throw the ball with your dad is like the best part of your day, and to get to be that for these orphans was so fun.
Two of the boys stuck out to us, specifically Tassi and Egger.
Yeah, they were kind of big brothers of everyone there at the orphanage.
Hey, the man with the plan.
Yes.
How are you, buddy?
I'm fine. And you?
Good. How was school?
Good.
And you live where?
I live in orphanage.
No, what country?
Burundi.
Burundi.
Yes.
At the Homes of Hope.
Yes, Gitega.
And you are the big man on campus.
Yes.
And the only guy that is trying to compete with you to be the big man is Edgar. How are you, buddy?
I'm fine.
You think one day you will be the president of Burundi?
Yes.
Yes, you will?
Yes.
Because you are very smart.
Yes.
And your name is
is Edgar.
Edgar. Okay,
Yes.
just so everyone on camera can remember you when you're the president. And they'll be like, wow, how did you meet him? And I'll be like, I don't know. God has blessed me with friends like Edgar, right?
Yes.
All right, we'll see you.
Yes, goodbye.
Goodbye.
October 9th. This evening we were out playing baseball with all the kids until it was too dark to see. And as I was throwing the ball back and forth with Edgar, it hit me that the trip was getting close to the end and I was gonna see Samantha in 2 months. And I felt overwhelmed with gratitude for her and the amazing person that she is. She let me go, even when everything inside of her wanted me to stay, and I'm so proud of her for that. And tonight I know I've got a girl at home who's so proud of me for putting Jesus first and daring to dream big and follow a calling, to share Jesus' love around the world and teach some awesome kids in Burundi how to play baseball. It's nights like tonight that remind you how beautiful of a thing surrender can be. People and dreams thrive so much more when you hold them in open hands and you're freed up to enjoy them in the way that God had in mind, which is much better than anything I could have dreamed up.
Hey, what happened? Matt. Ryan. This guy's, man. Hey. Check this guy out, man.
Which guy?
This guy here. Do that thing again. Nice.
Wow.
Pretty cool.
Is it though?
We are here in Burundi, but as you can see, the Congo is literally a stone's throw away. What's up, guys?
All the righteousness me alone in full. Holy Spirit come and take control. Me flesh too weak, me can trust anymore. Trust anymore. Oh no. Me hot bitter than the Olivera. Come refresh me more than a soda. Jesus Christ, you're the bloody donor. Get me out of your business, 'cause I just can't live without you.
That's how easy it is to make a documentary, guys.
You be there for me. You be there for me.
When we weren't working at the orphanage, we worked at a startup boarding school called Gitega International Academy.
GIA was created to train these kids to be leaders. We even got to be a part of their opening ceremony.
We taught classes, we served lunch, and my favorite part of the day, which was playing basketball. And I got super passionate about teaching these kids how to play, but also how to be leaders and how to be men. I started to feel a tug on my heart, and I was starting to wonder, why would I leave this behind?
All right, so it's the end of October, and I actually have been feeling over the last few weeks that I'm supposed to stay here for the month of November and keep coaching basketball. So in a couple of days, we're gonna split ways. I'm gonna stay in Burundi and keep coaching. These guys are gonna go do ministry in Zambia. Then we're gonna meet back up in Johannesburg in December.
I think the Ryan at the beginning of the year would have thought, there's no way, like God needs me to be in Zambia.
The feeling is not a big audible voice of God. It's just a peace down deep inside my heart that I know that this is the right thing to do.
Turns out that God gets by just fine, no matter where I am.
And then came the end of Burundi. And at this point, I think the exhaustion had set in and we were able to recognize that we had been gone from home for a long time. I'm pretty much exhausted, but every day I feel good to get up for that day and live that day. But past that, just pretty tired in a way that a good night of sleep is not gonna fix.
2 months left, man. Well, first of all, I think it's going to fly by because this whole trip has flown by and it tends to speed up as we go along this year. But I'm really looking forward to meeting back up with you, Ryan, in South Africa to finish it off strong.
We're having a good time and we don't want it to end. So there we are.
So we're working with our money, trying to figure out the cheapest way we can go from Burundi to Zambia.
It came down to two options. One would be a 3-hour plane ride, And 2 would be a 2-day journey on a ship down dangerous waters, and it seemed like a no-brainer to me.
And we were also told that 2 weeks before we got on board, pirates hit the ship and took everybody's stuff.
Would our moms be upset with us for taking this cargo ship? We thought, no, they'd be proud of us. This was economically the best situation for us to be able to get to Zambia.
After I said goodbye to you guys, I went to the internet cafe and sent the most insincere email to our parents that I've ever sent. It was like, we got them all sent off, they met the captain, everything's cool, it's totally safe, you'll hear from them in about 3 days. And I sent it thinking, I don't know if we'll ever hear from them again.
You may not see me. We are currently on a cargo ship in the middle of Lake Tanganyika, in the middle of Africa. If you look out here, Matt, you can see the lake. See that? It's the lake. The last time this boat made this trip, a bunch of pirates stopped the boat in the middle of the lake, got on it, took everybody's stuff. And so we're praying that that doesn't happen to us. Who knows, but we're filming some last minute things. So we have footage just in case it's the last time we have our camera. Can we ask you a question?
You're our captain.
It's the fearless Captain Jeff. He's gonna get us all the way to Zambia, safe and sound.
Jeff told us that we could put our sleeping bags down on the deck outside, but that it was probably going to rain.
We posted up on the deck of the ship, laid our sleeping bags out, and it just poured rain on us the entire first night.
People on this boat are fortunate to have their own room to sleep in. It must be nice. As for us, our room is right here on the floor. And we've been on this boat for almost 13 hours. We got about 23 to go. Almost there.
On day 2 of the cargo ship ride, the other guys were puking, and we were all really tired because we couldn't sleep, and we were really hungry because I was an idiot and sent Doug and Matt to go buy groceries, and those 2 morons had a whole grocery store full of things they could have got, and all they got was peanut butter and bread, not thinking that we'd want any sort of variety or something like vitamins, so we were miserable.
Well, what we've got here for lunch today is bread, peanut butter,
very good,
or barure de arichide.
Okay, looks like peanut butter.
And my pocket knife, some water. That's all we got.
Very nutritious.
That peanut butter was gross, too. That was bad peanut butter. Ugh. November 28th. Our final days are approaching, and our time in Zambia was a blur. We visited schools, had sports days, handed out shoes, and unloaded and sent food to kids all over Lusaka. Ryan emailed us to let us know he took GIA to their first ever basketball game against the other local school.
You guys played like men today. That is what I care about. I care that you guys become men.
After this crazy year, we're going to spend our last days relaxing. For us, relaxing is going to mean seeing Victoria Falls, meeting Ryan in South Africa, bungee jumping, shark diving, and who knows what else.
How it works is you stand on this platform over here, and you jump off the bridge. Pretty simple. Where are we, guys? South Africa. Surfing, shark diving, penguin watching, scooter riding.
Have you ever been further south than here? No, never have been. Going shark cage diving. Been a good debrief. Life is good, God is good. We love you all.
December 19th. It seemed like the guys who had really taken Jesus seriously experienced life far beyond what we were doing. We were going to lay it all down to find the more we hoped was out there. And here we are now, flying home.
Last flight of the trip. We're going home. This is it, man. The last flight. When we get off of this, where will we be? Denver.
A year of singing, dancing, digging, building, playing, praying, laughing, crying, teaching, and traveling has happened. An idea up on a mountain has now become the most epic year of our lives. Without a doubt, we have found more. Doug laid down his plans for this. Job offers, med school, chronic headaches, and a girlfriend hadn't stopped him from seeking the adventure God had put before him. It was in Belize at the end of his rope that he decided to sacrifice whatever God asked him to. As he watched Leonie, a woman who had put herself aside for the sake of Jesus, he was able to give up this world for what is beyond it.
I think you're now one of the most content guys that I've ever met. You're still struggling with these headaches, but you just know how to say, God is bigger than those things.
And he said, that's okay, I'm giving it up to you. God, I want a life that's different from that. And I think you got to live it this year.
Ryan became free of trying to become the perfect guy so that he could focus on the one who is that guy, Jesus. It was laughing through the flood in Fiji where the weight lifted off of him. The freedom of love crushed the obligation of religion. Ryan stopped living to a list of rules and started enjoying the grace, joy, and freedom that God gives.
Ryan, I think it was cool to see you just let go, to see you just say, all right, I'm done, it's not on me. That's up to God.
You understood that you weren't the hero that they needed. Jesus was the hero they needed, the same way he is for you. You gave it your best, and you were free in that.
Matt became comfortable being Matt. He learned from a little girl in India to throw away all the labels the world had put on him. He no longer needed to wander searching for identity. Instead, he took on life as a son of God wherever he found himself. Whether it was playing soccer, dancing in classrooms, or working with some pregnant teenagers in Uganda, Matt was there to be a light, shining love to those who needed it.
One of my favorite parts of the trip was watching you dance with the kids. You're able just to be the goofy, funny, energetic guy that you are, and
it was just the grace of God shaking you awake and being like, you're a son of God, you're Matt. That's what I created you to be, that's what the world needs, so be that person, and you're in a spot right now where you can be.
Haiti seems so long ago. I barely recognize myself when I read my journal back in January. I walked out of a prison wondering why I would ever go share life with anyone, and God has covered me in grace since that day. The temptations of the world couldn't beat a day of singing and playing with kids in need of love. And those kids didn't care about the ways I had screwed up in the past. Because it isn't about me or what I've done. It's about Jesus and what he's done for me to give me new life.
It was just the coolest thing to kind of see the grace of Jesus come in and just murder that connection between you and your past. And just have Jesus say, hey buddy, turn around, I'm right here.
It's awesome to see you take full advantage of saying, I don't care about any of that. I'm breaking everything that doesn't give me life, and that's what freedom is, and that freedom you find in Jesus Christ.
And that freedom's contagious. My favorite part about you is that everyone who's around you, everyone who interacts with you, can't help but feel that freedom and want it.
God called us out of normal into a life of more and spoke it through the incredible friends we've made along this journey.
Haiti cannot transform without Jesus. My hope is to see all the people know Jesus. Through that, I see hope for Haiti.
We are in this world, but we are not of this world. We are put here to serve God. And whatever God places in your hand, use it for his honor and glory.
I have seen his hand upon our lives and his faithfulness, that indeed God has been faithful to us.
Whatever you're called to be, whether that's through your workplace, whether that's going out there, God will place on you your mission. If you choose to listen, if you open your ears, if you open up your heart.
Hope is only in the Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ said, I am the way, the truth, and the life. The hope, peace, assurance of future life is only in Lord and Savior Jesus Christ.
I just want to see our generation on fire for God. I want to see them knowing God. I want to see them believing in God. I want to see them having that passion which I also have. I want to see them being transformed.
To serve is to love, and we have to love. When you serve, you're blessed.
In everything you are doing, you have to first.
The Bible declares it that in whatever situation, He can never leave us. If you want to go and reach out, it starts right in the heart, connecting with God, and then trust Him to lead you to share what you have to share.
This year didn't make us perfect, but we learned we were never meant to be. We do not exist for our own purpose. God did not accidentally create us, and Jesus did not accidentally die for us. Our purpose is to glorify God by laying down our lives for others. If Doug, Ryan, Matt, and I could experience life like this, see miracles, and be used by God, then anybody can. And that's what we pray. There are people sitting up on mountains talking about going to the ends of the earth, whether that means going across the street or across an ocean. We pray they would go. God is writing the story of redemption, and broken people like us get to be a part of it. Whatever comes when this plane lands, we know that God will always have more for us, and we will never stop seeking it.
On December 18th, I asked Samantha Motsinger to be my wife. And she said yes.
Yeah, we're engaged.
Will you marry me?
Beautiful day on the island of Fiji.
Yeah, John, that's correct.
Andy, where are you right now?
I'm on the boat, on the ferry, going back to Sydney.
I'm doing great, Ethan. Thank you. How are you, buddy?
It's doing good. How is Uganda, man?
Uganda is awesome.
Yes, it is.
Oh, yeah.
Are you in shock of where you are right now?
Yes.
Anything to say about the surroundings?
Oh.
Okay. Just give me a facial expression. Yeah, that's good. That says it all.
Hey, Matt. How are you doing, Matt? Happy birthday, Matt.
Rolling. Need some sunglasses.
Holy guacamole.
We are here in Burundi, but as you can see, explain to me how a waterfall works.
Waterfall works. There's some sort of river or lake or something over there. Here's where it falls. and then down there is where it lands. And that's the basic principle of a waterfall.
This is our pet goat, KK, from the Dominican Republic.
Ryan loves basketball, I think more than he loves the three of us.
Is that stupid? Matt, how do you know if you're in love? The big L, ever been?
The big L. Well, you can feel in your heart that just pitter-patter just slows down, and all you can think about is her smile, her laugh.
This is my mattress. I picked it because I like strawberry shortcake.
Angela comes running into my room, wakes me up and says, "Get up, we're about to have a flood." We're about to have a flood. It's gonna be a big flood.